Welcome along, everybody. Our Monday happy place with Lisa Didi and a new guest, Lou. Welcome, everyone.
Hi.
Hey, Sean.
Good to see you. I think obviously Lisa, Lou, and myself have met before at happy. Well, where was that? Singapore, the presidential suite of the Marina Bay Sands. I think it was David Chom's launch of a project.
Yeah, it was a very impressive apartment up there, or hotel room, wasn't it?
Very.
Yeah, well, that's one of the nicest hotels in the world.
Yeah.
And one of the nicest rooms in the nicest hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, particularly because it had its own little bowling alley in there.
Exactly.
Which was crazy.
So, Didi, you still win the award for coming to us from the nicest place on the planet, I think. How are you, sir?
I am amazing. You're totally breaking my morning routine because normally I'm reading the news now for my video I need to make today.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, guys. I'm looking outside. The fishermen are coming back. I think it's the only COVID-free island on the whole world. They didn't have one case, guys. So no lockdown.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Beautiful life here.
Wow. And Lou, you're coming to us from whereabouts, sir?
I'm coming from New Jersey at a friend's house.
Okay. Very good. Very good. So, Lou, you're new to this channel. So do you want to give us a quick introduction of who you are and what you do in the space? And we'll jump into some charts from there.
Sure. So I'm an investor and advisor and best known in the space for having started Crypto Mondays, which is the largest crypto meetup in the world. It's been active in 57 cities around the world. When we met in Singapore, one of the things I was there for was Crypto Monday Singapore. I went from there to go to Crypto Monday Shanghai, and it's all part of building the global crypto community.
Excellent. And you're doing it virtually at the moment, I understand.
Yeah, well, obviously there are no meetups happening in the real world today. So we moved it actually to virtual reality. Which has been super fun, super interesting. You know, if in my view, if you have a spectrum and on one end is real life and the other end is Zoom, I actually think that VR is closer to real life than it is to Zoom. You really have a sense very quickly that you're in the room with the other people who are there. And it's been a lot of fun.
Excellent. Okay, we'll have more of a chat on that after we jump into the much awaited charts with Lisa. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So we'll start off with BTC this week. So last week we were talking about hang on, that's not the chart that I want. Hang on.
The secret sniping tool, whatever that was.
Yeah. Hang on, share screen.
That was your secret.
Why is this not working? I hate this every week. It's like,
You have a play with that, and Didi can tell us what he's been up to while you're looking.
We are looking into how to continue life because at the end of July, Thailand is ending our visas, and then we need to go out of the country. But the stupid part is we cannot go back into the country because they still have a lockdown. So we need to figure out what to do now next with the family. We got another invitation from Europe to drive around Europe with a camper van by a new sponsor. Maybe we will take up on that. We don't know yet. We saw Europe and Asia now so many times. We are in for a new adventure, like, you know, America, or let's go to Oceania, or, you know, something new. But
right.
So they're definitely not renewing those visas, or
no, they just said that end of July they run out, and they will keep lockdown till September. So that's like terrible.
Yeah, so how does that work if you run out in July and then, yeah, that's a bit crazy. Hang on, I've got these charts working now. So
Well, we'll come back to that, Didi. I'm obviously trying to get in to see you.
It's kind of crazy. So they're now talking that Australia can't even, you know, we're not going to be traveling until maybe next year. So it's like so annoying and frustrating. But anyway.
Stay home and learn to trade, people. Here we go.
Yeah, that's it. So this is our BTC chart. We've had a break of the supports that I was talking about last week. So our first support, we came down and we broke that. And we had a bounce, and then we've come down again to our second support. Now we've got a very, very strong channel, downtrend channel here that's starting to form. So what I'd like to see right now is a retest up to this region, which is our all-time high resistance. That is this red line that's coming down that we keep going over and then continuously rejecting. So we're still in the vicinity of this region. So if we do get sort of a more powerful wave here, we might break through and come up again. We really, really, really need to get to this next pivot to remain bullish. So the next pivot here is 10,700. So that's a critical sort of point here, and we need to hold the bullish pivot if we're going continuing down. So if we do reject this region here and we drop, we've got a cross support on this bullish pivot, which is 8,422. So depending on exchange, it's going to move a little bit. Yeah, so BTC right now is in this critical range where we're still holding bullish. The MAs on the daily have crossed bullish. So what they call a golden cross, the 100 and the 200 MA. So if we have a look, we zoom out to the day chart, we can see that this cross has happened here and that we're still holding this cross. So magnets are clearly working right now. Yeah, so that's BTC. So this is forming quite a strong sort of looking flag at this point. We have entered into this. So how a bull flag works is if we enter in, we leave up. So we've got this point here that we would measure to see distance as to how far we are going to go up. So if we put a wave here, so that's our pole, potentially we can reach that pivot. So on our exit. So we're looking good. So we've got an 11,200 sort of range, which breaks that pivot, which will mean that we are going to go to 21,000 at some point. So that's, it's a really critical pivot sort of Elliott wave wise. And yeah, so the rest of, and another thing that makes me think that we're still going up is the whole entire crypto Twitter has turned bear. So, and when that happens, we go up, always.
On that note, guys, Didi, Lou, thoughts on BTC right now?
You know, I tend to be a longer thinker. I think it's super interesting, Lisa, to watch you do the charts. I actually started my career first 7 years as an equity analyst on Wall Street. How did you learn? How did you learn about charting?
I was kind of forced to because I needed to make money. So I was an actress and I had children to support, and I didn't want to give up that, and I wanted to have the flexibility to be able to do what I wanted to do. So I took a couple of courses, and then with crypto, it kind of moves slightly differently. So I've been trading that since, I've been trading for nearly 30 years. I worked out the other day, which is a bit scary, but anyway, it makes me sound really old. Old.
So you started when you were 5? Wow.
Yeah, I started when I was 5. It was incredible. I was like this child genius. So, yeah, so I've been actively trading crypto since 2012. And it has its own way of moving, obviously, with the volatility that we have. It's always had volatility. So it's been really, really nice to trade. So with crypto, you need to work, the Fibonacci works a slightly different way. We always move to supports and resistances. And, you know, there's a lot of inexperienced traders in the space. So, yeah, so I've sort of developed over the years, my own way of doing it. So, but originally I was taught by Elliott Wave School years and years ago. And yeah, just talking to traders and that sort of thing as to, you know, what they look for. It was especially good when the internet came on, because then you could talk to people in forums and stuff like that. But before that, I was, you know, just reading books and stuff.
Cool. All right, cool. So, and Sean, just real quick to answer your question, you know, I've been you know, longtime bull on BTC as well, and what I'm most excited about, you know, and I think of it as digital gold, and what I'm most excited about at the moment is stable coins and the rapid growth of stable coins. I think we're going to start seeing central bank digital coins as well, potentially, you know, starting with the one in China. And I'm really excited that that's going to be a major on-ramp for much of the world to come into crypto. And then I think, you know, once you start dealing with stable coins, the next natural thing for those people to start thinking about buying is Bitcoin. So I'm really increasingly bullish long-term about Bitcoin.
Interesting point, actually. I'd love to come back and have more of a chat on that topic with you after we've whipped through a few more charts. But before we get into the next chart, Lisa, Didi, any thoughts on where BTC is at for you? How you see it?
No, I am seeing exactly the same, and like Lou is saying, I always try to zoom out into the charts. So I look to the daily, to the monthly, to the weekly charts, and all these indicators I've been analyzing now. If it's peole indicator, or if it's you know, it's like the hash ribbon indicator. All of these have started flashing the last 2 weeks, and you know, these indicators have proven in the last couple of years and bull runs. And every time that these indicators start to flash, we will see a bull run. People just need to understand that a bull run doesn't mean that we will go up to like 100,000 in 2 days or in a week or in a month. You know, it will take another 2 years maybe in total to reach this new all-time high. But again, I agree with Lou about the stable currencies. I'm very much looking into Beam at the moment, because they will be the first stable currency now that will add a privacy layer to it, which makes it more attractive for me. Because else I still have this, you know, fiat feeling to the stable currencies, too much bank tied to bank and all that. So I need this privacy aspect. So I'm looking into Beam at the moment, what they are creating. But Bitcoin price,
with the privacy aspect though, is it, you know, once government organizations start to sort of control and sort of put regulations on these things, is that going to be a viable project? That's the thing. That's what I'm always concerned about with privacy coins.
Yeah, I hate that word, regulations. That's why I'm again wearing this shirt. Born to be free, guys. I hate it. I hate that word, and I hate that this word is disrupting the whole crypto industry. I hate, as I already said many times, we started this industry with a few revolutionary guys that wanted to change the monetary system for the better, and they want to make it accessible for everybody out there. Slowly, I can see this industry changing in this wealth accumulating, robotic, selfish industry again, where people only care about accumulating wealth and not about the true fundamentals behind Bitcoin. And I think stable currencies are an example of this. But I also agree with Lou that it will be simplifying the way to on-ramp into Bitcoin. So still making up my mind how I see this, if I need to see it positive or if I needed to see it just too much interference of the centralized organizations like those governments or the central banks in Brazil that now say, fuck you to WhatsApp, you're not able now to transact value between the people and all that stuff. You know, I just hate this centralized organizations interfering in our lives in everything.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly on that note, before we move into another chart, you know, we've had Jim Rogers, you know, a billionaire, turn around saying that he feels Bitcoin could go to zero. I covered that in yesterday's show. Simon Dixon's done a great interview with him that you should check out. Links below to that. But effectively, you know, his rationale was that Bitcoin is proving to be very successful. Therefore, governments will step in and try and stuff it out. I think we all know that would be impossible and potentially would be what would spur it to higher highs. I think, you know, the crypto market, we know so many people in the space there, you know, there is going to be something for everyone in this space, whether it's, you know, building a million dApps APIs around what effectively is going to be these central bank digital currencies. So, you know, I think the privacy coins and stable coins, that, you know, it's going to be a fascinating few years, but ultimately I think I don't think we'll see anything getting snubbed out in the near future. So on that note, Lisa, do you want to jump into our next chart?
All right, let's jump in, share screen again. Okay, so our next chart, we've got Ethereum chart. So we are still, we've got a bounce. We'll probably come up to this is a channel resistance. So we've broken this channel. We're now in a slight downtrend channel. If we were to add some lines here, we've got this downtrend channel. We should test here, which is around 238 mark. And then we'll come down again to around 207. So if that's providing, so BTC's got two patterns right now where we've got an ABC pattern, which potentially we could break through that all-time high resistance. So if that happens, Ethereum will also break through this resistance here and continue higher at this point. So yeah, so we've got the ABC here, or we could have the DE pattern, which is two Elliott wave patterns. It just makes it a little bit more of an extended correction. So we've got a whole heap of futures that are releasing at the end of this week, or the end of the month actually, so a couple of days. It's like the biggest amount of futures we've seen ever to be released. When we had a whole heap of futures released, I think it was in about June or July last year. We did the biggest candle BTC's ever seen in one go, which was, I think it was a 1,200 or a 1,300 candle. And we moved $2,000 on that day. Not all, but the first candle that released liquidated the whole entire market. And essentially the whole market, the same thing that's happened here, has turned completely bare, and the futures released and liquidated so many people. So, you know, if you are trading within this range, which is, you know, very, very much so, if you're not scalping right now, it's kind of a no trade zone. This futures release is about to, I think, go up and really liquidate a whole heap of people. So, and when futures release, they are very volatile. So they release in pattern, so it might go up, then it might go take a $2,000 candle quickly down. So, and that's going to be sort of how we see it. So if we go back through BTC, we can see these quite big movements. So, you know, we've got this quite big movement here, which is where BitMEX, the engines on BitMEX failed and it just completely liquidated everyone. So we could see a similar thing happen. So where we go up to we touch this pivot, we break this pivot, proving that we're going to go into this bull run, and then the whales with the futures just bring it straight back down to this support down here. So it could even break through the bullish pivot at this point. So, and most charts are showing that we're on sort of major supports and heading to major resistance points. So, you know, the way to break through those is to have so much volume that it just kills all the shorts and all of that at that point. So I like to refer to that as the rocket fuel that's going to take us higher. So I am going to predict that when these futures come out, I really see this just going straight through.
Okay, excellent. Any questions on what's happening on Ethereum, guys?
Yeah, I would just add that for me, when I saw the crypto light on June 29th, 2017, what I really saw as the major difference between crypto and everything that came before crypto was community. And undoubtedly, Ethereum has the most robust community in crypto. I was at, ETH Denver was the last event that I went to before everything shut down. And the community that was there was just so remarkable, and the amount of innovation that's going on in the community, particularly in the DeFi space, is really, I think, going to propel Ethereum much higher.
Yeah, absolutely. Didi, any comments on that?
No, I agree with it. At first, like a few years ago when I stepped into the industry, I was not that positive about Ethereum because I saw, that they were changing their blockchain and putting out $400,000 here and there and putting it back. So for me, that was not decentralized enough. But if it comes, but I also agree, like later in time, Ethereum is not there to change the monetary system. It's there to change all the industries into decentralized systems. So that's what I teach people. There's a difference between currencies that want to be a new currency like Bitcoin, or currencies like Ethereum that just want to decentralize the world. And if it comes to Ethereum now, yes, DeFi is, the whole DeFi industry is almost built on Ethereum, and with this new Ethereum 2.0 upgrade now, where people are able to stake Ethereum, I think when they own 32 Ethereum or something, I think this will tremendously make this industry tremendously grow as well, because the more people start to stake Ethereum, the less will be available. So what will this do with the price? I even read an article of one of these huge fund managers that was talking about Ethereum being propelled up to $9,000 per Ethereum, because he thought Ethereum market cap could easily go to 1 trillion. I don't even think this is a strange number, 1 trillion market cap for Ethereum, because you can see how many dApps are being built.
Yeah, I agree. I was with some fintech guys and some traditional finance people during the week here in Singapore, and Ethereum and this DeFi space is something they're definitely talking about. Lisa, on that note, you put us some charts.
My dogs are going crazy.
Interesting project last week. Have you got a few more gems for us this week we can have a look at?
Yeah. So sorry about my dogs barking in the background there. So we've got a few of our charts like this week, like obviously because BTC's been a bit boring, we've had a few drops. We've got people leaving the market. So we've also seen on the crypto market cap that we've had quite a bit of a drop in the volume of the money coming into the market over this last week. So that kind of tells me that people are a bit sort of nervous investing right now. Obviously, the DJI and the S&P are going down, so money does, sort of go round and round in circles. So it comes out of the crypto market, goes into that market, goes out of that market, comes into crypto. So it's kind of sort of moving around right now. My trade of the week this week is, let me find it. It's not gonna find it now. Yeah, NANO. So is going to be NANO. So I think we've got a very, very strong support that we're trading right now. We've got a cross support coming up in this region. So I really feel BTC is going to start moving higher at this point. If we hit that resistance on BTC, this is going to drop down, obviously. So this is my pattern for NANO this week. I really believe BTC is going to reject at the resistance again before the futures are released. I just think that's going to entice the bears to sort of come out and play, and really everyone to start taking shorts at that resistance, and the perfect opportunity for that candle to start like just pushing through $1,000 to $1,500 candle, and I think it's going to be one of the most explosive candles that we've seen. So yeah, so NANO is my trade of the week. We've got a trade here. Our first movement's about 25%. It'll drop down about 25%, and then we'll get a 60% move. So yeah, it's looking really good. I'll put this chart up on Twitter. All of the other coins are very, very similar to last week. They've had a small drop, but they're still in pattern. So yeah, so they're up on Twitter. So we've got Kava, which is trending sideways. We've got Algo, which is dropped a little bit out of pattern, but it's not unusual that it could see, you know, an ABC here before heading higher. OMG has reached my buy zone finally. So I was very excited about that. So we've been waiting for quite some time. So when we put it on the channel, it was May 31. So it was quite a while back. And, you know, we made, on that first day, so we had a 25% trade. And we've gradually come sideways, and we've finally hit within this buy zone here. So my bags have been fully filled up. I'm in profit at the moment. I've moved my stop to 0, so I can't lose on this trade now, which is really cool. So this is our Eidoo, our Eidoo trade. So we've come back into the channel, which is still very viable. We could come down and touch this bottom part of the channel. So, you know, if you're looking to get into Eidoo at the moment, so I would be putting some orders laddered into this region, and I still believe we're going to head up to this point here. So Vechain is trending with a strong support here. So yeah, we're looking really good on this one. This target, this upper target, is still looking really good. We've been in this trade for quite some time, since the 11th of May. We've touched, I had a rebuy here on breakout, so, and we're going up for this star. And Link this week hit our target, so I'm not in this trade right now, but overall we've made, I think I've worked out I've made about 270% because I've been trading the bounces on this one. But if you did hold the whole entire way, the trade from when we bought down the bottom here to net, like just recently when they released the news about Link in China, yeah, 210%. So yeah, been an absolutely awesome trade.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Lisa.
No
Didi,
problem.
how are you looking time-wise? I know this is generally when you're walking the beach, giving everyone your nice. Are you needing to rush off, or have you? Are you?
Yeah, sorry, I need to mute myself because these Thai motorbikes pass by, and then you hear all the sound.
No
But time-wise, you already screwed my whole time schedule, so I will continue, and I will, you know, I will just fuck over my own followers and put the video on later.
Exactly. Okay. So what? You can always post this one on your channel. Lou, tell us a bit more about yourself, sir. You're we've not had you on this channel before. Would love to hear what how you got into the space, what you get up to on the regular in the crypto world.
Sure. So yeah, I'm a VC, and when I got into the space in 2017, we raised a small fund. We're going to raise a larger second fund, and then we got crypto winter. So again, I've been spending my time at advising some companies. Blockchain Co-Investors is one of the companies that I'm advising. It's a crypto fund of funds, which is a great way to access a lot of companies with in the space with a single check. And so our first fund was $8 million that we launched last year. And this year we're raising a second $50 million fund that we just had our first close on a few weeks ago. And again, I'm spending a lot of time in the stablecoin space. Like you, Sean, I have a few shows, or we used to call them webinars, now we call them shows. And the one that I do most often is called Stablecoins Are Killing It. Which are at Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern time, 1 to 2 p.m. And we generally have 2 or 3 companies in the space. Last week, we had someone from the government of China who was talking about their central bank digital coin. We've had Maker. I'm excited about next week's show. We're going to have somebody from PEG Network, which is which is a project that enables anybody to make a stable coin out of any token. So they've been working with Bancor, and Bancor has a stable coin that they've created out of BNT that they've been trading with for over a year. So, as I said, a lot of stuff, exciting stuff going on in the stablecoin world. Okay, interesting. Any questions for Lou on that front, Didi, Lisa?
I'm not a fan of stable coins. So I'm just like, why do we need them? What's the purpose? We've got, USDT, we've got Tether, we've got USDC, we've got so many different, what I refer to as stable coins. So I'm not sure how Maker or BNT or any of these are even stable coins, because they're all tradable coins.
Well, I think one of the things that makes it super interesting, if you think about, let's say you can tokenize your equity in private companies, one of the projects that I'm working on. Mm-hmm. And you can take your equity, tokenize your equity on platforms like Vertalo. And now you have tokenized equity, and then you can use those and create stable coins out of them on Make or Die or with other projects. And it's a great way that you can, instead of, let's say, getting a venture debt loan, now you can create a stable coin with your own equity and get, and effectively have funds to fund your company. So I think we're going to see tremendous.
So are these stable coins essentially, the new ICO?
Well, they are, I think, a brand new financial instrument, right? So previous, if you had a startup company, just using this as one example, and there are many, but if you wanted to get debt, you had to go through, venture debt. And there are, quite often, and venture debt has been growing up and to the right for 20 years. It's a growing part of the, financial ecosystem for startups. And, but there are oftentimes a lot of onerous details when you get a loan like that. But now if you can use your equity and get a stable coin, I think it's if you're running a startup, and when I say a startup, I mean you can do this if you're a $100 million, billion, $10 billion company. I think it's going to be a super exciting new way to finance your company.
So how does that work? So we've got, we've had ICOs, we've got STOs, and the American government, USA government has cracked down on a lot of how this works, how, you can tokenize things. How is a stable coin going to get around those laws? Sure.
Well, the question is, and obviously the US regulatory environment is horrendous, but the laws around equity, which ICOs were effectively, being looked at as equity, are again much more restrictive than the laws around debt. And they're looking at stable coins, as we're talking about them now, quite often as debt. So much less regulatory overhang for them.
So you've just changed the way they're looking at it, basically.
Well, they have their own way of looking at them. It just so happens that it's much more favorable.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So effectively, this is where we could see, the tokenization of real estate, of different assets within companies, and the equity within companies themselves.
Well, again, those are security. Those are security tokens, which I think are going to be another super interesting space. But part of the problem with security tokens is the regulatory overhang, because they're looked at as equity, not as debt.
Okay.
So how do you basically get around it being a debt? Is it debt because it's a loan, or is it debt because you've just deemed it that way to get around the regulations?
Well, again, we haven't deemed it as anything. I'm saying this is how the government looks at it, right? Because if you think about getting a mortgage on a house, right? You're taking the house and you're using that as collateral and then getting a loan. against it. That's what a mortgage is. And this is kind of the same thing, right? You're taking the equity in your startup and you're using that as collateral to create the stable coins.
So how is the equity in your startup for anyone that's coming into this space and wanting to do that? So how is the equity in your startup assessed?
Well, again, the early companies that we're working with are pretty significant entities with equity values by major VCs of 100 million, 500 million, multi-billion-dollar companies that, again, we're getting most of these or all of these companies that we're talking with, we're accessing venture debt. And this is now just, I think, a much more favorable way for these companies to raise that debt.
Okay, so this is not your, you knew like Steve Jobs and in his mum's garage. So this is an existing company that's coming in and, using security tokens to tokenize their debt.
Well, I think eventually it can get down to the startups out of their mom's garage. But again, there's probably a lot more risk because the collateral being used to get the loans is a lot riskier. If you're a company that's worth $5 million and you're getting $1 million of debt, as opposed to if you're $100 million, getting $1 million or $5 million of debt.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Any inside gems for us to be having a look at, Lou, that you're seeing out there?
I'm sorry, Sean. You
got any little gems you can give us the inside track on happening in the industry at the moment?
I mean, the company that I've been most excited about for, another one of the companies for a while is Tezos. Again, I'm very community focused. I think Tezos has one of the most.
That's my poor man's link. Tezos is poor man's link. That's what I always describe it as.
And it's interesting because, communities, Link has a great community, but the Link community is there to make money. Not that anything's wrong with that. Making money is awesome. But, what we've seen like with Bitcoin is when the easy money is done and now there's work to be done, that community goes away. And so, the challenge for Link is to build a more engaged community, a bigger developer community, rather than what they focused on incredibly successfully is engaging the speculator community.
Yeah, fully agree on that. I don't think it's bad to make money, but if you make money, you need to share it with people that really need it. I think that is what a community should do.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And certainly, look, I mean,
sorry, go
on.
No,
and I was just going to say, and obviously oracles are a hugely important part of the crypto ecosystem, and Chainlink is the leading oracle product today in the marketplace. I agree with you, Lisa. I think it's another really great project.
Yeah. So with Tezos, like it moves incredibly like similar to Chainlink. So, and that's, obviously it's not priced as Chainlink is, and it doesn't have the moves that Chainlink does. And that's kind of why I call it the poor man's Chainlink. So there's, but it is an incredibly like viable project, and I do like what's happening. And there's a few projects that I do keep an eye on within the space, and that's definitely one of them. So yeah, and I've heard more and more people sort of talking about it lately.
Yeah, and it's got.
I thought you got popped there for a moment, Lou.
Yep. I
know you looked dangerous. You gave us a shock.
What Tezos is optimized for, and Didi, you were talking about privacy, obviously an incredibly important part of the ecosystem as well. And so Tezos is very focused on privacy and on security. And so it's emerging now as the dominant platform for security token issuance, which again, today that's a small market, but over time, I think that's likely to be a massive, massive market.
Agree. Didi, any projects you want to mention that sparking your interest at the moment?
There are so many projects, Sean, at the moment. And at the moment, so if you look at these bigger projects, Chainlink and all these, of course, I love them as well, but they are like not understandable for the normal market, like for the normal people. It just takes them too much time to research them. So I figured out that I'm focusing now lately on these small projects that are focused on the mainstream people, like which blockchain project is going to replace Instagram, for example. I'm using Epics for this one, and I'm just testing them. So I want to see, can they be as easy usable as the real Instagram, and can they still keep the strength of incentivizing people instead of incentivizing the sponsors of the Instagram, and Epics is doing a real good job over there. So I'm looking at these projects that the mainstream people, the normal like sheeple, let's call them
well,
like this.
I think, yeah, because Instagram's now owned by Facebook, and I think, we need to start sort of looking at, where the data that we're putting into these apps is going. And what they're using it for. So, if you can control your data and you can own your data by going onto the Airpics or, going onto Twitch, for instance, which is a BSV platform. So, you can control what goes out there and how it's used.
Yeah, I think this is the whole big game that is going to be played in a bigger layer, of course, that the data ownership will go back to the people, and we will be incentivized for sharing our data with all these big companies. But you can already see it starting. I don't know if you notice, how is it called, Rogers bell curve, that it comes up and then it goes down again, this beautiful curve that every asset in the world or every token goes through. I think Facebook just saw the top. We can see Facebook now, having all these problems. They had a beautiful concept of doing the same as WeChat. Like WeChat is being used in China to pay all over the world. You can pay with WeChat everywhere. So Facebook wanted to try this in Brazil. That got denied by the Brazilian central bank now. Facebook has a huge problem now with all the sponsors like Coca-Cola and all of them. They said, okay, we are not going to put AdWords in the next couple of months. You can see now that Facebook is going to lose, they are going to lose a little bit of the market. So there needs to be a new one that comes in the beginning of this Roger bell curve and grows up, and Facebook will go down. And I think these will be the decentralized ones. So if we look to the normal people, they will more easy start to use like an Instagram killer app or a Facebook killer app, and then they will create this mass adoption again. I can see it in my kids.
Do we have too many apps though? Do we have too much social media? This is the thing. It's like I'm cutting back on my social media. It's like it's so frustrating and annoying, and it's there's so many issues associated with social media, and with the more you post on there, the less people have to contact you. The less you have contact with any people, really. So
it is this vicious circle that we can't escape from if our core fundamentals of life will be the ego, the greed, and the fear, then social media will always grow. And I can see this with my children because, in normal life, when we were younger, we went to school, and if we didn't wear Nikes or the school jacket or the school sweater, we just didn't belong to this group. And this, you need to see this shifting now to this virtual world. First, it was now social media. So all these kids have this social media pressure. We have to have a lot of likes and friends. And now this world, we are already getting old, Lisa. This world is already gone, the social media. We are going into this virtual world. And in this virtual world, my kids already own virtual houses, virtual boats, virtual motorbikes, virtual clothes. And in this virtual world, now they don't belong to the group of people if they don't have a big house and if they don't have the right clothes. So you can see this shift if you zoom out, and I think there's a very interesting thing to look for. So I like Lou also said and opened this whole conversation, the shift to these online meetups. This is going to be normal in 10 years' time. It's going to be normal for companies not to own buildings anymore. People will just go into this virtual world, where is this office, where they sit together, all working independently all over the world, and they just contact with each other as an avatar. It's the movie Ready Player One.
It's kind of going that way, and COVID has forced us to look at different options. So companies have been forced to sort of set up their employees from home and to keep producing that way, and it's the only way that we've been able to do it in this period. So if this is a viable thing, and COVID has shown that it is a viable thing, it's going to keep going, and there's going to be less and less contact.
Mm.
So,
on that note, Lou, you're obviously in New York. I've heard, my country of birth are COVID free. Everyone's back to normal there. Yet the CBD's completely empty in our major cities, from what I'm hearing. I've heard commercial real estate defaults are going off an absolute cliff at the moment. Could you give us your thoughts as someone in New York? What's your feeling on this sort of topic moving forward for the bigger picture of how we are going to operate and what sort of role crypto can potentially play in that?
Yeah, I probably am pretty mainstream in terms of the crypto world and my view. I think that, New York has addressed coronavirus, I think to date so far, pretty well, certainly, in Manhattan. I was in San Francisco last week. And there they've even handled it much better. I mean, and I was in Los Angeles the week before that, and there a lot fewer people were wearing masks in Los Angeles. So it really seems to be something that's city by city, and I think that's all around the world. And I think that, what we're seeing now with the spike in cases, I mean, it's a disaster in the United States. And what we're going to see, obviously, is just more pumping of money into the system by the Fed. And that's worked actually remarkably well from the market's perspective. I mean, the NASDAQ, was hitting new highs, last week. So, so they'll continue, I think, to pump money into the system. And I'm a big believer that things work until they don't. And is it going to work for another week? Is it going to work for another year, for another 100 years? Nobody knows the answer to that, right? Nobody knows. The thing that's going to get things to flip is, you guys, Didi brought up what's happening with Facebook now. I was actually running the largest social network in the world before MySpace, called Bulk, and I was doing acquisitions. I was the first person to call Zuckerberg and offer to buy the company a month after he started it. And I was a huge bull on Facebook for 8 years. I actually wrote the first Wall Street style research report on the company in March 2010. And I was a bull for 8 years until their engagement started going down because they started to address fake news, which was the most clicked thing on the network. And as they addressed it, their engagement went down and down. And then they relaxed what they were doing on fake news. And in their last quarter, they reported Q4 2019, they had the highest rate of engagement in its history. And so while you and I and our kids aren't on it, most of the rest of the world is on it, and still using it more today than yesterday. And I thought the advertisers and people would eventually revolt, over the horrific implications of all the fake news on it. But it turns out the thing that now is harming Facebook is all the hate speech, right? Nobody was talking about the hate speech just a couple months ago on the platform. And now, as Didi said, advertisers are leaving in droves over it. And so that could really be the thing that breaks Facebook's back. And what's the thing that's going to break the Fed's back and the US dollar's back? My guess is it's going to be crypto.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that one. I just think the US cannot continue to keep printing money. It's just not viable. You can't just keep selling bonds to China. It's just crazy.
It's the world's greatest Ponzi scheme, right?
It is.
Best multi-level marketing program ever invented. And I really agree with you. I really agree with you, Lou. I think even that whole this flu, which some people think is a very killing flu, I think it is all created to find an excuse to start printing money, because there was no reason to start printing money before, and now they have a reason, and they will keep printing, and they will keep creating these new reasons, and that's what they do. That's what they've been doing.
And another obviously super interesting thing about stable coins, which are almost all pegged against the US dollar. Again, now you don't need to be the US government effectively to print dollars. And so with everybody having the ability to print dollars, I think that's going to have another significant impact. And to the degree, Lisa, I know you were bringing up the regulatory environment around stable coins. I think that could eventually be the thing that gets the US government to clamp down on stable coins when they realize that their monopoly on printing dollars is under threat.
Yeah, and that's essentially why they've, Tether's been in court, and there's been so much interest with that, with Tether and Bitfinex. And you look at that whole scenario, it's like, is this a test case for the rest of the stable coins? Are there bigger implications to the Tether case that are in the court? So, I'm just trying to look outside of the box as to what the implications are here. But essentially, if you take out Tether, you take out the whole crypto space. So it's not something that's going to happen like in a hurry.
Well, USDC is coming on, is coming on pretty strong. Makers, just today, I think they announced that you can use Kyber Network, and I forgot what other coin. There was one other coin that the Maker governance approved to be used as collateral. So I think you're going to see continued growth of DAI as well.
Yeah, I agree with that, but they just, from a trading perspective, they just don't have the liquidity that Tether has. So,
yes.
When you're trying to trade, a USDC pair with Bitcoin, it just doesn't have that movement and liquidity, and it's a very gappy chart, and, you just can't buy into it. So, it's still a long way from those being the norm in crypto.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things too, that when you look up the crypto market cap, there's been obviously this year the market cap of stable coins largely led by Tether has doubled. So that's adding support to a lot of support to the to the total crypto market cap ecosystem.
Oh, for sure.
I think it's around 1.8 billion now or something. I saw it doubled from 800 million to 1.8 billion.
No, I think it's over 11 billion now.
Wow.
Just Tether is 9 billion.
Yeah, it's the predominant sort of stable coin within the market, and that's the thing. If you take Tether out and it's $9 billion, it's like it takes out the entire market almost.
Nah. We are around 150 billion.
It's not something you want to be doing.
No, we had a market before Tether. There would be one afterwards. But Lou, I'll obviously come and check out your. I'm sure we all will. The other shows you do, and that one off the back of this discussion, we'll put some links below to all your content. I think most of you watching this know how to find Didi, but links below. I know he's about to run out on the beach now and scratch that itch for all his viewers in paradise. And Lisa, thank you so much for the charting. I saw some pictures of you doing photo shoots this week. What was that all about?
Yeah, so manager has just said, update your photos. I'm sick of looking at your photos, so there you go.
Oh, I thought you were doing modeling as a sideline. No.
No, I do photographic modeling, and I also do acting as a sideline as well. So yeah. That's kind of where those photos come in. So, they like to keep them looking fresh and updated, and, so the same casting directors are not looking at the same images all the time and getting bored. So, yeah.
Lisa's also producing the what's going to be a huge crypto movie, Lou. You want to give us a brief update on where that's at, Lisa?
Yeah, so I've got another meeting with Janet to run over the script. So Janet's from Lawrence Bender Productions. I book her in, and we, run over how the script progresses, how it's moving, the dialogue. So she looks over every single tiny bit of the script, and at the moment we're sort of layering in more crypto stuff. So just to make it, so we've got the relationship stuff happening. So there's kind of two storylines that are happening in the film. So we've got relationship and we've got crypto, and we're just layering the crypto stuff back in, and then we'll be ready to go.
Well, you'd have to squeeze Didi and Lou in there. Lou's got some stories for us. Hey, yeah. Look, I know we've run over an hour here, people. So we'll wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for all of your time. I think there's been some very insightful comments and information there for the audience. I hope you all enjoyed that. We'll be back here next Monday, obviously, for our weekly trading show. You can find Lisa, as you know, on Twitter. Links below for that. Lou, thank you very, very much, sir, for joining us. First time on this channel. We'll put links to your.
Thanks, Sean.
And Didi, we'll hopefully see you again this week. And I know you've got to rush off. Appreciate your time this morning also.
Very welcome. Nice to meet you, Lou. Again, it was a pleasure. Lisa and Sean, see you soon on Kopangan.
I hope.
Yeah, I hope you're seeing us soon there. It's like, yeah, that means we can fly.
Cool. Well, look, I'll sign off for the audience here, and maybe Lou, if you want to hang around for a minute, we'll just have a quick catch up. And Didi, see you later. Speak to you during
later, guys.
Okay.
Good meeting you, Didi.
Thanks very much.
Good meeting you, Lou. Bye bye.
Bye bye.